I'm Katie Saywell, I'm the owner and founder of the Dogs Code, and we are a training and behaviour company, and we specialise in Dachshunds. We help stressed, embarrassed owners and also owners that are lacking in confidence with their Dachshunds, and we create best friends through positive training. So grab yourselves a brew, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the 3 ways of dog training. And as you know, I only use force-free positive techniques. But what does that really mean? And what does that really mean for owners? And why do you need to know the difference? So we'll be finding out in the video. So firstly, we've got the dominance theory, or a dominant way of training. So the dominance theory is based on dog behaviour, and it assumes that your dog is motivated to achieve a higher status in the house. So it assumes that the dog wants a higher social status, and you'll hear a lot around alphas and alpha males and alpha females, and it's talking in relation to other dogs, and it refers to them being aggressive to get that status. So it refers to them wanting to dominate us in a way to be able to lift their own status or to achieve control over us. So from a training point, the things that you would often hear, or you do often hear, because some people still do use these techniques and these theories. So training techniques like an alpha roll, a pinning of your dog down, hitting, kicking, pushing, basically beating your dog up with either body parts or objects. And can include like really being quite aggressive in your tone and in your voice with them as well. So really, you know, like screwing your face up to an angry kind of face, so that angry frustration, and that's kind of the dominance theory, and it relies a lot on that. And this is the people to the dogs. And then less subtle things like hitting them on the end of the nose with a newspaper, flicking them, or even growling at them. And what actually happens with these type of techniques is that we're being really confrontational to our dogs, and they get really scared, and they really fear us, and they really fear what we're going to do with them. So they have 2 responses really. They can either react back to us, and even worse, in aggressive ways, or they can just freeze. So they're the 2 types of responses that we often see from dogs that have had quite a lot of dominance type behaviour used against them, or dominance techniques rather, used against them. And they freeze until they no longer feel threatened. So threatened by their owners, threatened by the trainers, and they learn that by doing nothing, you stop doing what you were doing. But ultimately, what can often happen is that you end up with a really aggressive dog because they're not able to display themselves properly, they're not able to just behave how they want to behave, and behaving just as a dog. So in terms of relationship wise with your dogs, you're building your relationship on one hand, but you're destroying it on the other one, because you're basically taking out what you've put in. So every time you use these dominant type of behaviours towards your dog, they're having to then protect themselves, which is then making them distrust you, rather than actually building it to be trusting. You've kind of taken that away. So it's highly likely you'll end up with either an aggressive dog or a dog that's really shut down in terms of an emotional state. So have you ever seen a dog that just lays underneath the table and doesn't do anything? Just lays in the chair, doesn't do anything? Because they're a little bit fearful of, if they do something, what are the consequences going to be? So it's just stuff to think about, really. Thankfully, the dominance theory has been debunked. Okay, so it was found that it was unreliable on the research that it was based on. So that is a big thumbs up. And I wouldn't ordinarily go into as much detail as that, but I think it's really relevant, and I think Facebook has a really relevant point to it, because you will often hear people still using the terminology. You will still hear people saying, you need to do this, you need to pin your dog down, you need to do, and then may not be as overtly saying hitting, punching, kicking, but actually that is the kind of stuff that they are referring to. Okay, and then moving on. So secondly, we have a balanced type of training, and I say balanced because they're not really balanced. So they understand that the dominance theory has been debunked, but they still use some of their techniques, and some of the interpretation has been moved over from the dominant side. So you still have kind of the dominant side, but you also had a bit of the modern stuff as well. So it's kind of a combination of both. But with the balanced training, they're not as overtly dominant or using force, but what you may find they do is kind of pull on the lead or use sprays, so spraying in the faces. They might use rattles as an attempt of distraction, and again, these take away the ability for your dog to be able to communicate. Okay, so dogs do communicate in lots of different ways, and if we take that away from them, then what are they left with? So for example, the water sprays, and this is massively popular, and you will see it all the time on Facebook. Oh, my dog's barking, so spray in the face with water. Okay, so I just want you to stop and think about that. So if every time you spoke, someone sprayed you in the face with water, how would that make you feel? So how long would it take for you to react after being sprayed in the face? But for some reason, we expect our dogs to not react. And there are lots of people that will tell you, oh yeah, well we used the water spray, but it only worked for a few days and then they went back to barking. Yeah, well, that's because it's not really fixing the problem. You're just sticking a plaster on it. And the emotional stuff that's going on inside your dog, what do you think's happening to them? Do you think they're going, oh yeah, because the water's spraying me in the face, it means I need to stop barking? No, it just means that you're breaking your relationship down with your dog. So you're breaking that relationship away. Each time you pick that water bottle up, they are scared. They are fearing that they're going to get sprayed in the face with water. That's why they stop, not because they've connected the fact that they get the water and that means they stop barking. So all we've done is just push that behaviour down. So we've pushed this barking behaviour away. Well, that's going to pop up somewhere else. And trust me, it's going to come up somewhere else and not very pleasant, because you're taking something away from them that's natural for them. You're taking a barking away from our dogs. That's like talking to us. So that's just something to have a think about. And it's the long-term impact that these techniques have on our dogs. So the electric collars, the vibration collars, the citronella collars, they all work on the same basis, and that basis is fear. Okay, so you might only have to go and get the collar out of the cupboard and they stop barking. But why are they stopping barking? Because they're probably scared. Okay, and the impact of that in their brains, their emotional state is being changed, but not in a positive way. Okay, so all of these methods disguise the problem. They don't actually fix the problem. So what was your dog barking at? Were they barking at something outside? There are plenty of methods and plenty of techniques that you can use to get them away from that window, rather than resorting to sprays, rattles, collars, or force. Yeah, Daniel, absolutely. Daniel's just written, I hate the idea of using any of these methods. And yeah, Daniel, I'm completely with you on that, and I don't like using them. And the purpose of this recording is really to educate, to let you guys see that these techniques are still used and why they're not a good option. Okay, so not everyone on Facebook that replies to you is a trainer, and not everybody will understand the impact that these techniques do have. Okay, so it's just to kind of let you guys know what the impact is when you're trying to build a bond with your dog and you're trying to build up this great relationship, but you're taking it away by doing little bits towards your dog that may not be helpful to them, which aren't helpful. And then the last part, so the third part is the modern way of dog training. Okay, so I'm an 80s child, as some of you might be surprised, but I remember Barbara Woodhouse, and I remember her like shouting and using choke chains and all sorts of things, and that was what we grew up with. But it doesn't mean it has to continue. So at any point we can change the whole way that dog training is developed and learn and taught. And the last one that I want to talk about is the modern way. So it's based on kindness, it's based on leadership, and it's based on giving our dogs choices, okay? And really getting to understand them and their quirky needs. So we've all got Dachshunds, and they are pretty quirky. And it's not to say that you don't have boisterous dogs, or you don't have quiet dogs, or you don't have silly dogs. Each of them have their own personalities, and it's about playing to their strengths and also building up their weaknesses. So you will get dogs that want to lead in the house, and you will get dogs that want to follow in the house. So whether that's one dog or whether it's a few dogs. And we tend to get stuck on this theory of being pack leaders. Well, we're not pack leaders, so, you know, our dogs are our dogs and our dogs are our pets. But what often happens is that we give our dogs too many jobs to do that they don't need to do, rather than actually giving them a job. So I'm going to put that into a bit of context. So your dog needs leadership, okay? So leadership isn't about being a bully. So think about that person that's ever led you in life. Maybe it was your driving instructor, maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was someone that you really, really liked. And what were they like? Were they, you know, were they hitting the table and saying you were rubbish at something? Were they almost making you scared of them? Or were they actually saying, well, you can do this, or you can do this, and I'll show you how to do it? That's leadership, okay? Leadership is about looking after, leadership is about nurturing, leadership is about having choices, having options, and building a relationship on trust, okay? So leadership isn't about who eats their dinner first. Does it really matter who eats their dinner first in the house? Does it matter if your dog gets fed first? Are they really going to take over the world if they have their dinner first? It might help them to have the dinner at the same time as you, so they're not sitting maybe begging in front of you. They're not going to take over your household because they've eaten before you. They're not going to take over your house because they're sat on the sofa next to you. You may get some problems that do develop, but no different to any other, really. The main thing about leadership for me would be out on a walk. Okay, so it's about who's taking who for a walk. And I know there's a bit of a thing of well, who is taking who? But think about it as in a leader's way. So if you were walking your dog on an extendable lead and they're right at the end of that extendable lead, and everything they come across, so every time they turn the corner, they're first in front of whatever is behind that, around that corner. Excuse me. So they will feel that they need to be your eyes and ears because, well, you've given them that job to do. So think about the mechanics of when you're actually out on that walk. Think about what is it that you want your dog to do on a walk? Do you want your dog at the end of the lead, literally leading that walk, or do you want them at the side of you? Do you want them in a position where you can say to them, it's okay, you can wait there and I'll deal with what's in front of us? I just happen to think about the different ways that you can lead in a nice, kind way, and that you can build your relationship together and grow together with that relationship. Ask yourself this: if your dog felt threatened or scared, would they look to you for reassurance? Would you be the first person that they would run to if they felt afraid? And that's about building your bond, okay? So for me, if my dog feels scared, she has learned that she can be picked up. Okay, I have no qualms, no issues with picking my dog up. If they're scared of something, don't force them into it. If they're scared to go to a place, or if they're scared to go into something, help them. Show them that it's okay. If that means picking them up and walking away, then that's fine, that's what you do. We never force our dogs to do anything. So I hope you found the video helpful. And I hope you found something to take away from it, really. So it is a difficult thing to talk about in terms of the dominant stuff and in terms of the physical force stuff. I don't like any of that, but I feel like sometimes people need to understand where that's really come from. So that's what used to be believed, and lots of people still do it, but that's up to them. And I've moved from that, okay? So I've never done that type of stuff because I knew there was something, and it's called kindness, to have with our dogs. And it builds your relationship a lot better and a lot faster. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you're watching on replay, then type replay in the comments. And if you haven't taken our quiz, then please do so, and you'll find it around here. Thank you, Bethany, that's very kind of you. And if you have got any questions, then you can type them in here, or if you want to type them after the video, then I'll go through them later on. So I think we've got a couple of people in here. Thank you, Kay. Your methods work amazingly. That's very kind of you. I do try, and like I say, it's about the leadership. It's about actually leading our dogs into being kind with them, not punishing them and not beating them, so to speak. And also having the right equipment, because if you're trying to walk a dog on a Dachshund, especially on a extendable lead, they're not really any good. So extendable leads should really just be for a field. So once you've actually mastered the art of walking nice on a flat lead, then having an interchangeable lead. Absolutely, Kay. Yeah, fire away, put your question on. Hi, Sally. Yes, I did see your video about Violet chewing her feet. If she is chewing her nails, then it is quite normal. You might want to just have a quick look at her foot to see what it is that she's chewing. Make sure that there's nothing actually stuck in her foot. Grass seeds or anything like that, because they can be little buggers at this time of year. Just making sure that there's nothing either stuck in her foot or there's no sores between her toes or anything like that. And just monitoring when she's doing it, if there's any sort of pattern to it or if it's just sort of a one-off. So if her nail's a bit shredded, it might just be a bit uncomfortable, and that's why she's probably trying to get it off. It's a bit like if you ever had the thing down the side of your nail, I forget what they're called, where it's like a little spiky bit and it's really annoying. So it could just be something like that. maybe a warm foot bath. So we're not a whole bath, but just a little bit, just so she can soak her feet. And just maybe soften it up. That might do the trick. Okay, so I've got a question from Kay. Okay, I'm going to ask you to message me afterwards because I can't actually read all your questions. So I'm only on a small screen and it's only brought half your question up. I can get to the point of no bad experiences to put the change in. So I'll come back to you because it will be on the comments anyway. And the same with yourself, Rachel. Defo agree about the extendable lead. Normal lead best for roads, but extendable been a godsend in the park. Yeah, again, Rachel, I can't read the end of your message, but yeah, having an extendable in an open space, absolutely fine, but an extendable just on a normal walk, and I say a normal walk like around an estate or on the roadside, curbside, they're not any good for anybody really. But yeah, I will answer your questions I'm going to stop the video now, but I will answer your questions afterwards because I can't see them. So I will catch up with you all soon. Stay safe, enjoy the weather, and I will catch up with you all soon. Take care for now. Bye.